regardless of how you feel about them personally, modeling effects and amps have never been better. They're also, generally speaking, pretty expensive. Enter the Sonicake Matribox II Pro, an affordable floorboard multi-effects processor. Its features are impressive, including a touchscreen, balanced stereo outs, 93 effect pedals, 63 amps, and 61 cabinet simulators, plus support for 20 user IRs. But does it sound good? Let's find out. Welcome to Get Offset. My name is Emily and your laugh is infectious in a good way. Sonicake sent me the Matribox II Pro to demo and they're paying a demo fee. The thoughts and opinions expressed in this video are all my own. Ears and personal opinions are all yours though, so don't be afraid to let me know in the comments what you really think. If you want to skip directly to sound samples and a run through of how to use this thing with patches, go to the time shown on the screen or check out the video description for actual chapter times that you can click on. I'm going to be playing the Fender 2 Telecaster and I am going to send it the balanced outs to my PreSonus audio interface. Everything else, unless mentioned specifically, is from the Matribox 2 Pro. Perhaps the most hype thing about the Matribox 2 Pro is the large touchscreen right there. And personally, this is a huge bonus to me because while it's not necessarily hard to navigate effects and patches using the menu knob, it's sometimes just a little bit faster to tap on things. The exception to the touch screen being easier is when adjusting the levels of different effect parameters. While you can drag your finger across, and you will see this later, it is sometimes easier to just use the knobs. You can get a little bit finer detail in that case. You can either use the knobs right here, these three, or you can make sure that the parameter is selected and use the main menu knob, and you will see all of this, I promise. For now, let's go over the controls on the face of the device. We've already covered menu, which is this one, and the parameter controls, which are these three, but we also have a knob for main volume. Below the two main knobs, we have some buttons. Exit, which is like a back button. Effects sends you to, you guess it, the effects edit menu. Save sends you directly to the save menu where you can rename and save the patch you're working on. And global takes you to the global menu. And drum is kind of fun. Press it once to turn on the drum machine. Hold it to enter the drum machine menu where you can choose between different styles of beats. Like that. The foot switches can either scroll through presets in preset mode, like that, or you can press those two buttons to enter stomp mode. In stomp mode, these four bottom foot switches can do a variety of things, including switching effects, tap tempo, and more. Don't worry, I will again show you that in the playthrough. The back panel also has a ton going on, including mono in, mono effects loop, an expression pedal or dual foot switch in, stereo outs, both balanced and TS, ground lift, MIDI in and out, aux in, 1/8" headphone in, and USB-C connectivity. There's a lot more to know and learn, but I think it's time we got into the sounds. As I already mentioned, I'm going to be playing my Fender Player 2 Telecaster. So let's go ahead and set this up, and I'm going to shrink down into the corner of the screen. Let's start with some of the presets and then build our own patch. But first, we need to tune. So we're going to press buttons A and B together to enter the tuner. It's got a big, bright display. It's pretty fast. I did already tune, so that should be good. And then you press any button to exit that. We have a volume pedal here. And we can go between different presets in this bank by pressing A through D. Let's see if we can edit these here presets. So I just hit the effects button, and something I noticed was that they have the modulation and everything after the cab, but what if we put it between the amp and the cab? We can actually just touch that, tap it with our finger, and move it. So it makes it really easy to just change things on the fly. Let's go to this preset patch to go over another feature of this device. So far we've been in preset mode, but we can hit these two foot switches here to transition into stomp mode. You can see that with these presets, some of the foot switches light up. Actually, in this case, all of them do. That's because they've been mapped to go on and off when you hit corresponding foot switches. So that's just completely dry. That makes it function a lot more like a normal pedal board. All right, now let's take a whack at creating our own presets. So I'm going to go to a clean bank. I have a test patch I might go over with y'all later, but let's start from scratch. First things first, let's find an amplifier that we like. So I'm going to tap on amp. I'm just going to drag it. I'm going to go ahead and add a cab. And then we're going to tap on whatever we want to then dial in a little bit further. So if we have a good amp and cab, we're going pretty far. So you click there and we have all of the different effects. You can even change the effect type if you didn't mean to select something. And we have drive, clean, high gain, bass, acoustic kinds of things. Let's stick with clean. We can just tap and scroll through, or we can scroll with this button here. As you scroll, you do have to actually physically tap on the button to hear that sound. It doesn't just audition it for you. Let's go with that. We can click effects to go back to that main menu, and we can do the same thing with the cab. I personally like 10-inch cabs. I think they're very punchy. So I'm going to try to find a 10-inch speaker here. Ooh, a 4x10. Maybe this one. Let's go with that. Let's go ahead and drop in some reverb because everything sounds weird without it. And let's move the cab after. So right now it's set to studio reverb, but let's again go and audition some other sounds. I just feel like if you don't get a good spring reverb, I think that'll do just fine. Let's add in some delay as well. Drop between the two. We have all these different parameters we can go through between the different effect type. With these arrows you can navigate, and then these knobs underneath each one will select things. So one thing that did kind of throw me off is that sometimes if it's not like a range, if it's just like on or off or going between a few different things, it is a lot easier to use this wheel here versus using your finger. So that's how I feel about it. Let's turn on trails. And let's make sure it syncs with our tempo. So we can control mix, time, feedback. Let's do a little bit less feedback. And again, you can use this knob here, or you can just swipe around with your finger. Back to the effects, let's add a compressor. That's going to be under Dynamics. So compressor is the default. And this is another thing, sometimes there are fewer options than I would like. This has 3 compressor options, and some of them are relatively limited with regards to the parameters you can edit. This one seems to have 4 things you can edit, including clipping, sustain and attack, and volume. And this one has threshold, ratio, volume, attack, release, tone. So this is a lot more that you can fine tune. So if we want a fast attack and a slower release, we can have nice. So next, let's go into drive. Just to take a step back first, I feel genuinely picky about my drive section. It's the element of my sound I tinker with more than anything, and I have a few favorites I do tend to stick with. But we probably should add some dirt. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the dirt sounds I've heard so far in a lot of those preset patches, but let's explore and see if we can find something we like. Let's start with overdrive. So we're just going to select drive, put that between dynamics and amp. Screamer, I'm going to assume is some sort of tube screamer guy. I do kind of like that one, so let's go with it. Turn the gain down a bit. I'm not going to do EQ on this patch right now in front of you all, but I do think that's something that's going to be very, very essential to getting the most out of this device. That's, I think, my biggest beef with some of the drive sounds is the EQ. So adding an EQ pedal after the drive is a great way to combat anything you don't like in whatever default drive pedals they have. But let's go ahead and add a fuzz now as well. And that one is going to be fuzz. And that brings me to this up here. That's like the input volume. So that's obviously way, way, way too high right now. So we're gonna go over here to there, to this volume, and we're gonna turn it down. Because we can control the master output there. But here's something that does genuinely kind of surprise me. You only have 3 fuzzes. That's pretty limited. But honestly, this sounds pretty good to me right now. I do want to add modulation because I'm me, but I can go hopefully to effects. Now I go to exit. I can turn off that fuzz for now. So I just did that by hitting exit a bunch of times. Going back into editing, modulation before the delay. The default modulation is a chorus. And this is what I was talking about before, where there's only one control here, but it's based on a dimension chorus, I assume. So you're just going between the different modes. But let's do phaser, because they have this panning phaser. That I think is kind of fun. Future Emily coming in to say, I do have affiliate links for this in the video description. So if this is something you're interested in checking out, please check out the links in that, video description. How many times do I have to say it? Video description. Remember how those presets were mapped so that the foot switches could turn effects on and off? Well, let's go over how to do that on our own. We are first going to save this effect as it is. I am going to name it Demo. And now I'm going to click on the Control CTRL button up here. And now we have a brand new menu. So these are controls 1, 2, and 3, and 4. I do think it's a little bit unfortunate that they are A, B, C, D on the face and they are control 1, 2, 3, 4 on the device. But you just click on each one. So that is selected. And we can have that, let's say that turns fuzz on and off. Let's say 2 is going to turn the other drive on and off. And this is another beef I do have with this pedal. It's that the effects are just called whatever the main folder is. It doesn't say fuzz, it doesn't say overdrive, it doesn't say phaser. So let's go ahead and set control 2 not to drive like I had done before, but to modulation. Control 3, let's do delay. So that leaves one more control that isn't mapped to anything, and that's fine because there's more to do. I'm going to go ahead and save my work, go back to control, and now I'm going to go to foot switch settings. We're going to enter foot switch settings, and this is where we can change what we want D to do here. So instead of controlling 4, we want it to be tap tempo when we hit it once. And let's go ahead and have it set so that it turns on the drum when we hold it down. Save that work again. And one more thing I want to do is I want to set the expression 1A, that's this thing right here, to not be volume. We can have it set to any of our effects. So again, dynamics and then 2 drives, amp, modulation, delay, reverb, and cab. So let's have it set to delay. We can have it adjust the mix, that's the top one there. So let's go ahead and have it change the feedback. We can set a minimum and a maximum. So even when heel is down, let's say I want it to have a little bit of feedback. So we're going to set that and we're going to save again. And again, this is just a bit of what you can do with this pedal. We're going to go to effects. Nice, so that worked. And we can change the tempo. We can turn on the drums by holding. That's enough of that. And we can turn the effects on and off. So the fuzz was already off. And there you have it, a nice little patch. Okay, final thoughts. This thing isn't bad at all, and I was a skeptic. It's honestly super impressive. I do want to dig into it more because I didn't have a chance to look at the software. I'm not a big software person, but I'm really curious about it. The only issues I can see are that there are some limited effect types. I mean, 4 kinds of fuzz. 93 effects sounds like a lot, but you may want more. The good thing is there is that effects loop so that if you do want different kinds of fuzz and you have those, you can use them pretty seamlessly. The bigger thing is that I can't exactly see which effect I have in a signal chain unless I open up that view, as I mentioned just a bit earlier. All the modulation looks the same, all the drive looks the same. Other more expensive units tell me exactly what each effect is. Like, is the dynamics control a compressor, an acoustic sim? Because this does have an acoustic sim. It's hard to tell. I'm also not sure you could do parallel signal chains other than with the effects loop. I haven't been able to figure it out on the device itself, but it might be something that's available now or in the future with a firmware or software update. I don't really know. Ultimately, most people probably won't need that feature, but if it's something you can't live without, then this might not do it for you. But again, the effects loop might solve that problem. Other than those relatively small things, the Matribox II Pro is a genuinely impressive first floorboard modeler for someone looking to explore this growing realm. I don't have an exact price on this, but Sonicake's whole thing is affordability, so I can't imagine it breaking the bank. This is not going to be $1,000. The version before this one is $229. I'm not sure if that's on sale, but I do expect this to be a bit more than that. It's the Pro version, has more foot switches, more flexibility, more controls. I'll drop the price on the screen over here maybe, but I'd say a fair price for this would be around $400 US dollars. If you enjoyed this video, please check out the one on the screen, which is my demo of the Fender Player 2 Telecaster I was playing throughout. As always, please like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Thanks for understanding. Affiliate links in the video description. Until next time, my name is Emily. Goodbye.